Emergency Services, Tim Boyce, to come up and just give us an update on some of the events or incidences we've had over the last couple of weeks. And before he starts, I know council had different comments or ideas yesterday. I know Ms. Marone had something. Why don't you start us off?
Mr. Chairman, we had some public comment yesterday that was shared with us regarding a couple of incidents that have occurred in the county over the last few weeks. And, you know, they've been concerning incidents, and I thank you for being here yesterday and sharing your concerns as well. We had an incident on October 25th, and then again on November 11th. Two incidents throughout the county with nauseous smells being reported throughout major parts of the county, to the point where people were getting headaches, were nauseous. I believe there may have even been a school that closed early, and significant calls to our 911 center. You know, after hearing the comments yesterday and having the incident, that second incident that occurred again this week, I just feel that we need to do a total analysis of this incident. And I'm not calling on council to take action today because I know it's not on the agenda. And if you feel that it needs to be a formal action, I think we can do that at our next meeting. But I didn't want to wait to share my concerns with the fact that not having an answer to what this was causing these issues twice now to occur is something that we've got to get to the bottom of, and I didn't want to wait 2 more weeks to put it on the agenda. So I don't think it takes an action of council for you to do this, and I'm sure it's part of our process anyway, but I think we need a formal report. We need an understanding of what happened in both of these incidents. If it is something that is occurring from, across the Delaware River or something that's occurring in Delaware County, I think we have to have an answer to it. And I think we, on behalf of, the residents in Delaware County who were substantially affected by this, and the numerous calls that I got for the first one, that was blowing down towards, the Concord, Chadds Ford area. The second time, I think it was blowing the other direction, more towards Ridley. But I think we have an issue that we need to get to the bottom of, and I would just ask that as a representative of emergency services, that we do a post-analysis of this incident and not stop until we figure out what is causing this. Not wait until the third time that this happens, where we've got individuals calling 911 on it. Dozens and dozens of individuals. So I would implore us to do that. And I think, secondly, the other incident that was brought up yesterday was the pipeline issue in the gasoline link in Media on November 11th, I believe, or 12th as well. And I would, in that same urgency, I think we need to evaluate the response to that situation and the notifications that occurred or didn't occur, so that we understand and use the opportunity to better prepare our systems and react to things that are occurring. So I'm not sure if we got notifications or if the notifications came from residents, but I think we need to understand, this station having a gas leak, what happened there, and what's going to change in the future to make sure that we don't continue to have that type of safety issue that evacuates or does a stay and hold in your residence, and whether or not those were the best actions to be taken. What is the clear direction? Did we give clear direction? Could we have given more clear direction? What is it that needs to be taken, and what can we learn from this situation to make sure that we respond better in the future and hopefully prevent things like that from happening in the future? So
I appreciate those comments. We spoke about this some yesterday as well, and we asked Mr. Boyce to come in and speak today to give a report to the public, and anxious to hear him say that, to give that report. in my conversation with Mr. Boyce, he has stressed that typically Delaware County is a response agency and it's not an investigative agency. So while I agree that we should do an analysis, I think it may be one that we need the assistance of others with. So I have reached out to a number of state legislators, Senator Carney's office, Rep. Kirkland, and Deloso, Senator Killian's office, as being those in the closest proximity. I know Rep. Reinke has also raised concerns about this as well. I think we need their assistance along with the DEP's assistance to do this analysis. I'm not sure. I'll look to Mr. Boyce to tell us how best to do the analysis. As for the pipeline issues, I too was troubled with the gasoline leak that was reported, but as Ms. Biari spoke about yesterday, it's more than just the this gasoline leak. We've had sinkhole after sinkhole, we've had waterways spoiled, we've had drinking water spoiled, and it feels like death by 1,000 cuts there, and I'm concerned that, as someone recently pointed out, maybe we've got a red warning light flashing all over the place here, and we need to really increase our oversight of this project, because it doesn't seem that Transfer Partners is doing a good job overseeing it. It does not seem that the relevant authorities that should be overseeing it are doing it. I know it's not necessarily within our jurisdiction, and ordinarily I would like other people who have the jurisdiction to take control of the situation, but where they're not doing so, it seems unwise for us to just wring our hands. So I'm not sure what we can do, but I would sure look to other than jumping up and down, which feels good for the moment but doesn't really do much later, maybe we can act as a convener of sorts, raise attention to the issue, and try to get those who should be responsible to take responsibility for them.
I would only echo the concerns without repeating them. But I think I'd add, just to be clear, I think there's sort of a short-term issue of what just took place, so that we truly understand what was the impact, what was the danger that was posed to the community. And then there's really the larger issue, as we talked about. The current structure is not a sustainable one, it's not an acceptable one, where the pipeline operator is the one who's expected to self-report. What they've shown over and over again is that they're not doing that. We're sometimes the last people to know. We'll find out about a leak, and Tim, I'll like for you to speak to that. But that's really, we shouldn't be hearing from the press that there's been a leak. We should be hearing from the public. We should be the first to know. So I think understanding what we can do to make sure that there really is someone who's watching over this. If there needs to be a warning system put in place, we need to insist that occur. And I do agree. I think we'll get a brief update today, but having something that's more comprehensive, have it conducted hopefully in the evening, in a place where the community can participate, and hopefully the DEP can be there to speak to what they can do to make sure that this doesn't happen.
Tim, real quickly before you start, I want to clarify that our emergency response teams responded, and we were there at the scenes, and our teams did a great job. I think my comments are just more about learning from it, making sure we can do a better job if heaven forbid something happens again. And also, the fact that on these two older ones, we just don't know yet. And I think that's concerning to me, that we do get to the bottom of it, because we're, 2 incidents now. So it certainly was not anything about our response from, our staff and the services provided, just more of getting to the bigger issue that I know you're just as concerned about.
Well, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to preface my comments on some of these things. There may be investigations going on already, which I can speak of, but I just imagine cut a few of those words, just because, especially the pipeline event. But taking on the gas leaks first, unfortunately, it's more than 2 incidents. The city of Chester has dealt with most of the summer of gas leak days. On the west end of the city of Chester, they've dealt with residents calling an odor of gas. We responded with our hazmat team all over the city of Chester and have never been able to figure out the source of that local one. We then had the two very significant releases of a product. The DEP is the responsible party, or Air Quality Division, to determine the source. Our first responders get the calls, and we've never been able to pinpoint where they're coming from. We can trace back with wind speed and direction. We immediately contact our neighboring counties. We contact the Coast Guard for the port part of this, but we're not able to determine the source of the product release. I guess jumping ahead in the story, I'm really at the point I think a criminal investigation needs to begin, because someone is willfully doing this. They must know. So it's something I would ask council maybe to pursue with the DEP. The county has no ability.
Has DEP given you any feedback on what their investigation is for, I mean, I knew the two other incidents, but I don't know that we heard, the people in the west end of Chester having this going on all summer. I mean, what's been the result of DEP's investigation?
DEP, we work with the field persons that come out, but we're all in the same boat with handheld meters and the like, trying to chase it down. None of the products, none of the events, well, people can obviously smell it, are appearing on our meters. There's two real things we're looking for on a meter. Is it a volatile organic compound, which means could it explode? It's never received there. Or our sensitive testing devices, just the product's not strong enough. It sounds like a bad story, but if you sit on the beach and someone smokes about a block away, you can smell the cigarette. It doesn't mean we're going to detect the cigarette. So it's really hard to chase down. In the most recent incident, we're all standing on 291, and I don't want to impugn any of the facilities. The suspects are endless down here, including someone willfully coming in and committing environmental crime with dumping a container or dumping something like that. So there are formal processes. We do air monitoring. The DEP has the authority to go back and check those regulated facilities for what they were doing, if their scrubbers or their testing devices are appropriate. And that's a normal course of business, but I've asked for the DEP to meet with us again formally. I've said something, I'll defer that to council if that needs to become a larger meeting, to come back and see what their enforcement things is, what the role of the county is. Is there a formal complaint? With dozens of communities reporting this, I just want to be sure that is there a formal complaint that needs to open up a case, or as we hear from the sidewalk, tell us where it starts and we'll go after it. We just don't know where it started. We have thoughts, but I just don't want to impugn any of these facilities to say that you're doing it. Everything from the road paving to this one or that one, it's just not right for me to kind of say who I think the suspect is. Frankly, I don't know who the suspect is. It is coming from down around 295, 291 in the river. Both of these incidents were pretty much bordered there. Our suburban counties, Gloucester and Newcastle, have not reported the events. The other day, the wind was strongly coming up from that area. Boeing, which is a great partner, Industrial Fire Brigade, was ready to evacuate the campus. So these are not people, crying wolf. These are people that are sincere and know what they're talking about. So again, asking the DEP to come in, maybe formally understand what their investigative process is. Is there anything the county can do to support that? We do have air monitoring devices. We just used them the other day. They work. We actually contacted the Army with a civil support team. We have similar equipment to detect it, but with inversion layers and all those words like that, there's a rising up, cooling, and then dropping down a community over. We just don't know. So I share your concern with this. It's certainly frustrating. People are calling 911, businesses are disrupted. We had a real gas leak during this investigation that was almost missed because someone thought it was. So that's kind of where I'm really asking you maybe for council with me to bring in all the stakeholders and again, make sure that they're going to investigate this. No one is owning up for the condition. Speaking about how facilities report, depending if you're a SARA Title III facility, usually the heaviest chemical places, they have about 24 hours as a rule of thumb to report a significant release. That's the letter of the law. So, in theory, they do.
But in actuality, no one has.
It's a self-reporting system. No one has reported this, and we contact all of our refiners. We call them up because as good partners, they may not know there's a leak. Hey, we're getting this odor.
So what about the role of the LEPC here? Have they been involved? Is there a committee? I know that this is out of Sarah, that the LEPC, the Local Emergency Services Committee, I know it
Yes.
is, has a role in this, in looking at those organizations that may potentially have hazards. Have they been involved? When I say they, I'm not sure, I just know the committee.
Right, the LEPC is a committee of the industry partners, for the most part, and community members. They just met the other day, we raised this with them. The former role is for planning, to make sure facilities are planning properly, that they have a community response plan, that there's a right to know component to it. But again, they don't have an investigative role or a response role at all.
No, I wouldn't give the investigative response, but I know that they are pursuant to this issue in looking at the potential of any industry, those that could possibly have any harmful effects, that they have a role with that. So, I would just think of the LEPC and certainly you say.
No, while it's a committee, that's, again, people we talk with all the time. We're all at these events, we contact them, and they get out there. I mean, they have an interest in not being responsible as well, and none of them want to be falsely blamed. So they'll do their independent testing, they'll contribute weather information to us and the like. There's something going on. One could have been a passing freight car, could have been one. Two is not an accident. And, I forgot to inform you, there's not much I can do about three right now, other than respond once again.
Tim, is it fairly clear at this point that the two incidents came from the same type of smell? Is there anything that we can tell to know that it's one source as opposed to multiple?
It's hard to describe. The calls are usually people reporting an odor of gas, like natural gas. As it drifts, it turns into more of a chemical smell, a driveway coating smell, a heating oil smell. Remember heating oil in the house, went to your basement, had that smell. So that could be a condition of the product cooling. I'm an engineer, but just the sheer volume, when you think of a release down along 291, it's traveling up to Marple, that's a lot of product getting into the air.
But that same characteristic you'd say was for both
For both events, yeah.
So it does seem to be the same source.
Yeah, the one the other day,
Different smells.
different smells over time. Boeing thought there was a major gas leak. I mean, that's the complaints we got with Boeing. And again, that's a high-end secure facility. They know what they're doing. So they reported it as gas first. But again, without trying to impugn people, we do have crude oil that comes into the county. There's rail cars of those. We have and people talking about the Marin East product that comes into the county colorless and odorless, but it is transformed into another product that does have properties. So no one's been excluded in this, including, again, I don't want to sound like I'm casting aspersions, but it's not impossible that somebody's, trying to dump chemicals.
So what would be the next steps to actually formally begin an investigation, perhaps a criminal one?
Well, that's my call to the DEP. I guess proudly about Delaware County, we're not taking this lightly, where others may say it's, if you read social media, it always happens with these things. The DEP is the lead agency. We're asking with them. We're familiar with the DEP from other projects. But I think it's going to take council and the elected officials to bring the responsible stakeholders, and if they have a greater capability than what we're doing right now. We're using hand meters, we're using area detectors when it happens. We have a biodetection system that is not alerted on this. It's an existing counterterrorism program. None of our current detectors are hitting this. And as I saw the chairman the other day as we were driving by, one minute you're standing there, and it's overwhelming, and then it's gone. And that's really what we've been dealing with.
So Tim, my understanding, are you saying that the DEP staff people have been on the ground? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying? But you don't feel that you're getting the the level of response, or?
I don't want to question it that way. The response elements are the same that we have. We have the same air monitoring detection devices that we bring out. They're just not picking up the product. But if it's coming from a higher source, a smokestack or something like that, and up and rising, we're not going inside the gates of facilities. We don't have that authority unless, there was an urgent situation. And there's no facilities, Boeing's campus is a little different, but we just don't have a suspect by the time we get there. It's drifting through the county. Mr. Marone spoke to, the last one first was detected in Bethel, Concordsville, and then went right back to the city of Chester and then drifted up to, Broomall. So I think that's the point that we're at. And again, all of our partners have been engaged in this. It's just, it's a sense of urgency I share with you that we need to have somebody with more authority that can investigate this. And again, maybe the DEP has permanent monitors they can put in or the like, whether it's the record checking is being done at the fixed facilities. That's a review matter. It's a little beyond my scope, but I would appreciate your support.
Tim, do we need a formal letter that goes to the Secretary of DEP stating the county's concerns regarding these incidents?
I don't think that would hurt us, Marone. Again, we work with the local responders. They come out. Actually, one of the senior women lives here in Media, and the other woman happened to be lives in Collingdale. She walked out the door with a complaint and said it was overwhelming, the gasoline smell she smelled. She was driving. So there's a professional walking out of her home in her own county that's just as frustrated as we are right now. But we were unable to detect the source.
So maybe turning to the, from the unknown links to the known link, if you could speak a little bit to the details of what occurred.
Yes, during the same day we had odor gas complaints that kind of split the parade, oddly enough. They were in the morning and the afternoon. Bakersfield of the city of Chester, that gas complaint has been investigated for some time. The same unable to get an outcome, so it is more than 2 events to the people of Chester, but it's been kind of block by block. I know the mayor is involved with that, and the fire commission I've met several times over it. So that afternoon, about 5:30, a civilian reported a heavy odor of gasoline around Mount Fennel Road, where the bridge is, which is Aston Township. The civilian report was confirmed by a police officer within a minute or two, and our fire departments responded. They went to the Tunbridge Apartments. I say it wrong. It's Tunbridge, not Tunbridge. They went to the Tunbridge Apartments, and at the valve station there, which is a valve station for many products that come through the county, from the larger ones, there was contractors working already. The contractors reported that they had a product lease on the campus that they were attempting to control. So that's how that one unfolded.
And this was a spraying of gasoline. Is that the appropriate way of describing it?
The contractors were the one at the site. I know first responders went up. I believe this may be a matter for dispute at some point. I was told by the first responders that they saw pooling of product on the ground, and significant pooling of product. I know it's been reported, I think through a press statement, which I didn't really read that well, but it would be up to the DEP or FSMA, who regulates pipelines, another federal agency, as this was a pipeline that leaked. They may take ownership for the accident investigation, where the DEP has responsibility for the cleanup response.
So was there notification to the county that there was a leak, or not until we responded?
No one told us.
So what was the timeline? We got the citizen called in and said, hey, I smell this. They called the police go out.
They called 911, so we would dispatch the police and fire department.
Then when the police got there, were the contractors on site already?
The police reported a significant odor of gasoline. The gasoline smells what they smelled. We have a heightened alert at the 911 center, so I was notified the media of that. So,
I guess what I'm trying to get to is when in this process did the contractors get there? Did they get there after our police, but before our fire?
I believe the police may have been on Tunnel Road. And again, this is all anecdotal. The fire department went to Tunbridge, and it's the rear of Tunbridge, you can physically see the plant. That's where they met contractors, I'm being told, they're already on site.
And I think what is around the alludes to is some of what I find so frustrating, that there seems to be a breach in our collective understanding about how we're supposed to operate with one another. You know, we all understand the pipelines that carry natural gas and other products. But when they have a leak issue, you tell us about it. And we shouldn't have to find out from somebody who walks down the street who happens to be there if it's at 3 a.m. Nobody's outside of it. So it's frustrating.
Is that state or federal regulations or reporting requirements for both?
I think it's both.
It's both, and there's different timelines. The one that we're most dealing with on the pipeline issue is the National Reporting Center, the 24-hour reporting for significant release. So I guess in practice, in defense of the companies, they have an obligation to go see if it's a true or false event, and then they would report it in a timely manner. That'll have to be figured out. But I just want to say clearly that no one called 911 from the facility and told us that they're on the way or anything. The first responders showed up, and that's what they relayed to me. They saw the contractors there, were told what was going on.
What if any of these answer transfer partners say? Do they say that we screwed up, we didn't call, or do they say, well, we got 24 hours to call, and we were going to, or none of our business? I mean, what if anything do they say?
Mr. Chairman, our relationship is strained, to say the least. I tried to contact them myself to get an idea of what the product was, what was going on, and that system did not work well. They have a government liaison that will give the official briefing to us.
Did they eventually make the report to the 24-hour center?
I'm not sure on that. I know we reported, our process has changed over the years since I've been here. We report everything to the state watch center that we deal with as a checks and balance.
Is that a DEP agency or a PDC?
It's a one-stop. If you report it to the Pennsylvania Emergency Watch Center, it goes to all the local agencies. It goes back to your county, your emergency management. It goes to PUC,
Is that PMA?
state police.
PMA?
Yeah. So they'll put it into the national reporting system for a state event, where the national reporting system is a system that the fixed facilities put in. And they'll often put things in, we had an intruder on campus or something. So it's sometimes innocuous like
Can we
that.
find out from them whether or not there eventually was, both from the federal and the state, whether there eventually was a report, and if not, if it wasn't timely under whatever statute or regulation, what enforcement action of state and/or federal government is plan on taking?
Well, and again, it gets back to reportable quantities, which I think is being disputed with common sense a little bit on this one.
Well, I would trust the word of our first responders, firemen going out there.
So, yeah.
Is the briefing scheduled with energy transfers, government relations person? Is the briefing scheduled, you said you were going to receive?
No, we have a meeting set up with the DEP to see where we're at. It's unrelated to the pipeline event. The pipeline event normally will take a very formal course. I know we had another gas leak earlier, I guess last year down by the airport, on those pipelines. There's a formal process that, they may ask for some records, but I'm not sure we'd be a witness. The first responders may be a witness in that. But that is either FISMA, pipeline agency has authority over them to read, to find out accident investigation and anything from there. And the DEP would be responsible for cleanup in this matter of the waterways which are there.
So Tim, in this event, it was a relatively harmless gasoline. Is there any reason why a gasoline leak would be any more, as far as you know, any more likely to occur than if this were a natural gas liquid like ethane?
I have no idea why the leak occurred.
I guess what I'm saying is, we now have a leak. But it was gasoline. It wasn't a natural gas liquid, which would have been far more dangerous. Is there, as far as you know, is it more common for a gasoline leak to occur than a natural gas liquid to occur?
It's uncommon for us to have any type of leak like this. But again, this is the second one. There's a number of pipelines there. There's still some confusion. Maybe I was just not informed as the incident commander, was the local fire chief as the incident commander, of which pipeline it is. And some of these pipelines are multi-purpose. They put different products in them at different times. So I'm not even sure which of the pipes, what was it, the 8-inch, the 12-inch?
And then I mean, that's why we and so many in the public are just so alarmed by this. That this time it was gasoline, but who's to say that the next time it's not going to be a highly combustive, odorless gas that will be collecting in a larger quantity before anyone really detects it. And if the operator has shown themselves to be perhaps, and maybe not perhaps, following the 24-hour standard for reporting, when the reality is that this needs to be immediate for people to get away as quickly as possible. This goes back to what we were saying earlier, that's not an acceptable structure for the public to become alert. So it really just goes back to the urgency that we need to find a different way for the public to become aware that there's been a leak. This week now had in some ways this was sort of the false alarm, although it really wasn't false, for what could be the way it goes if this was an odorless gas.
Yeah, I heard two ways that this was reported from the contractors walking in this field. So I really don't want to say that was fact, but I'm also just as concerned as how they knew about it, and we didn't. And I just don't think that's what the public expects, nor do I expect that. I don't want our first responders going into harm's way as guinea pigs. And as you know, the two first responders actually became nauseous during this event from walking up to the field. I just wanted to speak, Mr. Barone, about the public notice on this. I was on scene relatively quickly. The location of the valve station is a little bit of a distance. There's a street there, and there's a road down. There's a street that runs behind this, where the house is Martin Lanes, is pretty close. The first responders set up what they call a hot zone, a warm zone, and cold zone. That's a best practice. And they determined which homes were in that. While the smell was very strong, there is a way to detect the level of danger. At some point, the county hazmat team did respond. We did independent air monitoring. And there was a discussion with the incident commander about issuing a shelter in place for the community. The incident commander had assured me that every home within the warm hot zone had been physically contacted and they'd been to, and that the leak had been controlled and the situation was improving. We were prepared to issue what's called an I-Calls warning. Our department actually populated, ready to go, about a half mile to stay in place. At that time, the incident commander, National Emergency Management, and our team agreed that the affected area, other than smell, was probably only 100 feet, and there was no one to issue that warning to. So that's, we weren't prepared to do it, but again, that is something we don't do lightly. Again, for the host of reasons in the community, not everyone has the same access or functional needs, so when you start doing those things, it has consequences, but there was concurrence. I was there that they felt sufficient. They had physically warned everyone in the immediate danger of what the problem was.
One other point of clarification. You spoke about the fact that the laws seem to suggest that they have 24 hours to report these incidents. Is there anything precluding them from reporting earlier?
No.
So that's sort of bare minimum.
They'd be a good neighbor with where we're at on this. And again, Delaware County Council, we missed with the tornado that came through here, the first anniversary of our hazmat team. I know the public seems that there's more events, it's the county's more engaged, is the way I look at it. We go to every event, we lean forward with our first responders with testings and things like that, but it's very difficult if you get a subsidence and I get it 24 hours later that we go and double check the community. The contractors assured people that the area was safe the other night. The county did not take that assurance. We did independent testing, but it's further downrange. And this event, I think, needs to be hard looked at. Why people were on site, we didn't know.
Right, so it sounds like we've given you plenty of homework to do, and we've got some ourselves, so but thank you very much for coming out and sharing that information with us.
Thank you.
At this point in the meeting, it's a portion of the meeting